The old pick-em-up has been getting really bad gas mileage of late, and it has been missing. So I decided, if it only missed every so often, then it would run, straight for a while. But I decided this morning I better take a look. I opened up the hood, and this is what I found. Check out my distributor cap. Can you believe that? Look at that. I got to zoom in on this one. Let you see it. This is amazing. Look at the corrosion and everything around that center post. It had broken off, and on the inside it looks fine. But out there it had broken off, and this is what it looked like inside the plug wire. I've still got to take that plastic out of there and all that corrosion. I knocked a bunch of it out, and is that amazing or what? I just can't get over that. In all the cars I've had, that's never happened before. Okay, it is that time of year, folks, when we make our tomato juice out of our tomatoes. And we ate most of the tomatoes this year, so we still should have enough for about 4 or 5 quarts. And I'm the guy, I get to crank the handle. Wife does the hard part. She puts the tomatoes in there. I decided to have a few trees topped out around our house. I had to do it. This one right here, these pine trees are so huge. And when they sway in the wind, buddy, I'll tell you, that's like a couple of tons swaying back and forth on those roots. This one right here that I had topped out first, it was so close to the road, I was so afraid it was going to come over here and there'd be someone driving by during a storm or something and the tree would just fall on them. The rest of those trees over in this area here belong to the neighbor. But this one right here is on our side of the fence. Anyway, I had a guy come in and top them out, a professional. I told him, hey look, you just put them on the ground. Once the tops get on the ground, I can chop them up myself from there. And that saved me a whole lot of money. It was less than 1/3 of what someone else wanted. Some guy came here and gave me an estimate. I would have needed 3 bank loans to pay for what he wanted. These guys are crazy. But then a second guy came and he was very reasonable. I said, when can you start? He said, I can start tomorrow morning. And he cut this tree and 5 others. Now this tree right here, right off the deck, was interfering with my G5 RV antenna. This tree right here. So I asked the guy to clear out the hole, because now I can run my antenna from the top of that tree all the way over to the top of this big tree, which you probably can't see because of the sun. Anyway, that too is all laying on the ground. I also had these 3 trees topped out because they were too close to the house. They were actually tall enough that if the wind blew them down, they would have hit the house that far away. That's how big they are. This is an example of how tall those trees were. These are the ones I didn't have to cut yet. So again, I've got a whole pile of trash over here. Well, it looks like I got our trees cut just in time. We finally, after months, have got some rain. Almost all of Arkansas has been under a burn ban for the last, I guess, few months. And I've got a pile of stuff out there that I need to cook out, some tree limbs and things like that. And I hope they, drop the burn ban so a lot of other people can get a few things taken care of. And of course, these here will have to be burned next year when I cut them. They won't be seasoned and dry enough. But I'll worry about that later. They'll come out of the yard whenever I feel like getting them out of the yard. That's what's good about being a property owner. I don't care if it sits over there for 10 years. And I'm still cranking. I've accumulated a bunch of VHS videotapes, over the last couple of years. And I watched them because you can pick them up cheap at the flea markets, and for 50 cents to $1 a piece. The one I go to is 50 cents each. So, I always keep my eye open for another VHS or VCR player, because the one I have could crap out. They're not going to last forever. And when it does, I'd like to have a backup. Well, I was given a backup the other day by a friend of mine, and I figured, well, that's it. I've got myself a backup. But then I stopped at a flea market on the way to work today, and there was this other VCR sitting on the shelf, and it had the user's operating instructions taped to the top. Now, that was unusual. That kind of caught my eye. And it is almost, I don't know if this thing's ever been used. It is a Fisher. It's in immaculate condition. There's not a scratch or a blemish on it. I'll have to take this tape sticky stuff off there. I wish they hadn't used that much, but they have it on both sides. Well, I went ahead and just took the top off it a few seconds ago. See if I can get it off again. Take a look at the inside of this thing. Can you believe that? Look at this. There's not even a speck of dust in it. Look how shiny the head support. I don't know what they call it, but the heads are in the center there. This is amazing. I don't know. I don't even know if it plays. I'm going to take it home tonight, and we're going to find out. I'm going to hook this baby up and see what happens. But anyway, I went ahead and picked it up, and the main reason I picked it up, I mean, I figured I had nothing to lose, you know. Not at this price. Now here's the other player that was given to me. It's an Orion. I've never heard of it, or if I did, I forget. Anyway, the fellow that gave it to me, he said, no, I'll never use it. And he also gave me a big, well, actually gave me 2 big boxes of VHS tapes. And he said, go ahead and go through the tapes, select the ones you want. Take them out and keep them, and bring back what you don't want, and I'll donate the rest to a flea market, a charity that I know of, and they can make a little money out of it. And I said, well, that sounds like a good deal. So that's what, now I just got done cleaning this one. Now this one had a little bit of dirt on it and everything. I cleaned it inside and out, cleaned the heads. But, you know, I'll be taking this new one home tonight with me. You know, whenever I bring this kind of stuff home, wifey always, you know, she just kind of grimaces at me and looks at me. You know, I'll bring home an old radio or an old stereo or something. And, you know, the other day she says, why do you keep dragging all this stuff home? And I told her, well, when you live right, good things happen to you. Now here's something for you newbies out there. Now I've been messing around with this radio trying to get it to play, and I've got it turned on right now, and I've got the volume up, and as you'll notice, there's not much coming out of it at all. Not much at all. Now I did convert it from electromagnetic speaker to permanent magnet speaker, and I have a 6 ohm speaker connected to it. It takes an 8 ohm, but a 6 ohm will be okay. Now what is the problem? Why am I not getting any sound out of this thing? Well, watch what happens when I touch the grid cap wires of either this tube, or this tube with the screwdriver I have here. Ooh. Now how about that, huh? Alright, all you newbies out there. And what do you think happened? Then cranking. Well, I hooked up both of the VCRs individually, and I am happy to report that they function perfectly. I hooked them up to my flat screen TV. And there's the proof. It's just, I'll tell you what, I just cannot believe I got a couple of those things for a total cost of $5. What a deal. The last time we saw this Hammerlin HQ129, I was having a little trouble with the reception, you know. So I decided to go ahead and check all the tubes. I had never checked them, never run them across the tube tester. It always played well right from the beginning, except for this blown out rectifier 5U4, I believe it is. Anyway, I ran all the tubes, all 10 that were remaining, across the tube tester, and guess what? 5 of them were barely functioning. 5 of them were so weak that I'm surprised they even worked at all. Anyway, I dumped all 5. I had 2 in my stock. I ordered 3 more. They all came in nice, brand new NOS tubes. Are all in there, and the radio's working much better. On AM, anyway, I have my antenna out of the tree right now because of all those cut trees, and I'll be getting that up in a day or so. I wanted to have it up by now, but it's been raining all weekend long. So this is what I'm using, my tunable loop antenna that I made a while back. Let me see. This is for AM broadcast band. Now this is where we have it right here. It's a faraway station. Now we go ahead and use our antenna to bring it in a little better. hopefully. There we go. See? The tunable loop antenna works great. And cranking. So what's the answer to the little quiz as to what happened when I touched the grid cap with the screwdriver? Why did this radio suddenly start playing? Well, what was happening was the local oscillator was not functioning. I don't know why. When I turned the radio on, and many times, not every time, but when I turn the radio on, nothing happens. So by touching the grid cap with the screwdriver, tip of the screwdriver, either this one, or this one, what I was doing was shocking the local oscillator into functioning. And it could be this tube here, the 6A7. It could be one of two resistors underneath. Maybe a capacitor's bad. Maybe I have a bad solder joint. I just wanted you to see that because someday you may run into it yourself. Wasn't that fun? I'm sick of Craftsman chainsaws. I can't get one to run and operate for more than maybe 2 years at the most, and that's just with moderate tree cutting. I don't do any heavy cutting, and when I can't even cut a tree down this big around without the saw jamming up, I keep it clean. I keep the oil gas mixture right. I change the spark plugs as needed. I don't get a lot of crud buildup on it, and still these Craftsmen just will not continue to run. I don't know what the problem is. Anyway, I'm getting to the point now where I'm ready to buy a Stihl saw and get to cutting. Well, that's exactly what I finally got around to doing. I gave that old Craftsman saw to my son-in-law. He's bigger and stronger than I am. It was just too heavy anyway. Every time I tried to start it, it would kill my elbow, which is already suffering from a little bit of arthritis. Anyway, I picked up what's called the MS-170. And it's a very light chainsaw, easy to use. It's a 16-inch blade. I think it can even take up to an 18. 16 will be plenty. It's primarily designed for around the yard use, occasional cutting, and which is what I use it for. I maybe drag a chainsaw out once every 18 months or a year nowadays. And but I wanted a Stihl, and I got a Stihl. And I also got their particular bar chain oil. Bar and chain oil. I got a quart of it. It's a little bit thinner than the chain and bar oil I've been using. I decided to go ahead and buy what was designed specifically for this saw. I also picked up 6 of these little oil mixture containers that you mix with a gallon. And the reason I did that was if you bought the 6-pack along with the saw, it doubled the length of the warranty on the saw. Well, I thought that was a pretty good deal. I pick up the oil I'm going to need anyway, because I have a lot of tree limbs to cut, as you remember from the beginning of the video, and so I get double the length of the warranty. I thought, what the heck. Anyway, it comes with this little baby here. It is for taking out your spark plug and removing the top on your gas and your bar chain oil caps. Then you got a little screwdriver to go with it, which adjusts your chain, I guess. I haven't looked at all the little details, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, this baby here, what you do is you loosen up these 2 nuts with this right here. This tool's also used for that. And then you adjust your chain tightness, which is pretty good right now. You want about an eighth of an inch of slack when you do that, about an eighth of an inch. Anything more or less is too tight or too loose. Anyway, we're soon going to be giving this baby a workout. I'm proud to own a Stihl. I just hope it doesn't let me down. Last but not least, it's time to rotate the tires on the old pickup truck. I do it twice a year, generally right before winter, and then right before summer, and it keeps the tires lasting longer. The problem is it gets harder and harder for me to break those nuts loose on the tire, on the rim every year. Like I said, I have arthritis developing in one of my elbows. It gets, as you get older, things begin to break down. and it just irritates me. I used to be able to whip through this like it was nothing, but I just can't do it anymore, you know. I bought this crossbar to be used with all of our tires. You know, when you buy a car nowadays, they just give you that little tiny wrench. Forget that crap, you know. I went out and bought one of these, and I've used it for years, and it's worked well. But even so, with the leverage I get, it's still very difficult to break those nuts loose. But I don't have to worry about that anymore, because a while back I was whining and crying and bleeding all over wifey about how hard it was, you know, to use a lug wrench like that anymore. So she went out to Harbor Freight and picked me up for my birthday a cordless impact wrench, a battery operated impact wrench. Is that cool? Look at that. Of course, I sort of mentioned to her that they were available down there after doing a little bit of looking around the internet. It's a pretty good little wrench, a little heavy, real stout. I'm kind of surprised that it's that stout. But anyway, this baby here will save my elbow, my arthritic elbow. You know, I ought to be able to use that arthritic elbow for a few more things. I'm going to have to really milk that. I'll just tell wifey just how bad it hurts. Maybe I can get her to buy me something else. Yeah, maybe next time I'll have like an arthritic toe or something. I don't know. Anyway, charges it. Good deal. Now after I did a little research, I looked up a lot of YouTube videos on this thing. They work great for taking the lug nuts off. One guy took one off that was torqued at 130 foot-pounds. Yeah, it bang, bang, bang. It finally got it loose and took them off. But of course, all I need is about 80 to 90 foot-pounds on the lug nuts on the truck. It works good for taking them off, but it does not create 80 to 90 foot-pounds for putting them back on. It'll tighten them down, but it won't tighten them to the necessary specs. So I guess what? I'll have to go back to this. But at least half the job will be taken care of by this impact wrench. This is really cool. Well, that's it for today, guys. Next time, I hope to have part 2 of our stock market Mish-Mash video. I've been getting a few responses to that. I'm kind of happy about them. So until then, this is John.
The beat goes on. The beat goes on.